Bozo, you love your different codes of football as well. Is that right? Is there a Jasmine Rice of football? Can you find that?
I concur with both gentlemen either side of me. And I try to actually say this to a lot of soccer people. At the end of the day, AFL and NRL have been the top sports and always probably will be the top sports in Australia. And that's part of the landscape that everybody else has to deal with. Rugby union has got a fantastic tradition in this country as well. Soccer is still pretty much a new sport, even though there's a lot of people in our fraternity who would say it's not. And when I say it's a new sport, when it began the new A-League, for the first time ever we Australianised the game. There are a lot of people in our community who are still a little bit bitter about that, but that had to be done. And as a new sport, I still think it's up to us, especially in view of the fact that we're also bidding for the World Cup in 2022, that we maybe take a leaflet out of the people in South Africa, which I learned when I was over there, and embrace the other sports as well. And I've always been interested. I mean, my first love was rugby league. I would have been playing rugby league if it wasn't for my mother, and obviously Brad Fittler used to play in my position.
A woman. Yeah. A woman's got to. Thank you very much.
So there you go.
So most mothers don't like their kids.
I love them.
Sport. Yeah. So there you go. And I love my boxing. I love all sports, and there is room for all the sports. And in view of our sport, soccer, we actually play in a different season now to the rugby league, the rugby union, and the AFL. So we've got our little niche, and I think it's important that for us, like I said, not only to embrace the other sports, but also to support the other sports. We're going to need their support and their help if and when the World Cup comes here in 2022, which hopefully it will. So I think it's important that we do that. And the two best sporting events that I've been to in Australia since I've been back to the country have been the Canterbury versus Parramatta semi-final last year.
Yeah.
And funny enough, and I know it's a funny thing to say, especially in view of what happened the other night, but the Danny Green versus Roy Jones Jr. fight, where I heard 18,000 people sing the national anthem as well as I've heard it anywhere. I would love to come down one day to the Anzac Day game in Melbourne to watch the AFL, and also I'd love to go to a Tri-Nations game as well, just to compare, and I love my cricket as well. And I think, as being Australian, we always punch above our weight in sport. And one of the reasons that we do that is because of the diversity that we have over here.
We have half of California's population, and we really do greatly in the Olympic Games, don't we? You know, we've got soccer, we have rugby, we've got cricket, we've got everything we want to take on. We're very, very good. I think we don't kick ourselves enough, to be quite honest.
No, we don't.
We've built the greatest stadiums of any country of 20 million in the world. You go around the whole country, what we've been able to achieve and build in a 20 to 21 million nation is unbelievable. And we pack the stadiums.
And it's a bit of an advantage too for the rugby codes and for football that they play on the same sized stadiums, shaped stadiums, but that's a bit of a disadvantage for the AFL. Now, the AFL is trying to win the hearts and minds of Greater Western Sydney. Rugby League claim they've got them. Football claim they've got them. You went out and bought Israel Folau. That's what you did. How much is that is about winning the hearts and minds, and how much is that about Israel Folau kicking a bag so GWS win a game?
Look, you know, I've been in Sydney only a short time. I've got the tolls off the M4, so I've done well there. Signed up Israel Folau, been belted by the press in Sydney. We've stopped him just about playing against New South Wales. What more can I do for you people?
It didn't work. He still played for them.
No, but he won't be playing against New South Wales any longer, and I haven't got one letter of thanks.
So you're promoting the games here in Sydney.
Not one.
Your game. But what you're also doing, and I think, I'm not sure whether people can appreciate this, but he's still, Kevin, lobbing hand grenades back at the AFL, everyone in Melbourne. You've had a go at Mick Malthouse this week.
He's a grump. Sorry.
Any Collingwood supporters here?
Well, there wouldn't be. One.
No, there's another one here. Two, three. And a lot of people not prepared to admit it. Yeah, fair enough.
All I want to remind you is you won one premiership in 50 years. And I'm the guy that let you win. So no, he's a good coach. He just doesn't win premierships.
He won two at the West Coast.
Sorry, no. Now, there's no press here, is there?
Stays within these four walls.
No, okay, sure, yeah. No, look, it's very hard to win any premiership. That's all, simple as that. And, you know, my question was about, we all talk about our sports, but what about France? Tell me about France in the World Cup and how they blew up. But that all just erupted, didn't it?
It did. I think you're seeing the end results, and I think you're seeing this with a lot of the big teams, not only France. I think you're seeing with Italy, even Australia, because especially after what I heard last night, you're seeing the repercussions of too much player power.
What about in America? Good?
The United States were fantastic.
Yeah,
really good.
That's
really,
the one
really
I thought might be a sleeping giant coming through.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought.
Well, the Americans, as we know, when they put their mind to something and they want to be the best, eventually history has told us that normally they do become the best. But yeah, definitely with the France situation. And like I said, I heard stories last night, even with our own dressing room, the Australian, England.
You go around collecting stories in dressing
No,
rooms?
I was very, very fortunate, very fortunate in my career to play with people from different nationalities, which I still keep in contact with. So that's okay. Yeah, a little bit of repercussions of too much player power. It's okay for players to be powerful in terms of being leaders, but where you want them to be powerful, as you know, as a manager, and Owen, you know, and Jimmy, you know, as players, is on the pitch. Not behind the scenes in the dressing room. There can only be one boss.
Well, actually, maybe Owen has something to say about that, because was it 2004 that player power led to the sacking of David Nucifora, and you ended up going on to win the competition?
Yeah, we did win the title. It just shows you that it's more what the players do on the field than what the coaches do off it.
Oh, don't start that.
So what you're suggesting is the coaches are overrated?
Oh, well, mate, I've spent the last 2 years coaching down at the Brumbies, so I've had a bit of taste at both, experience at both levels. I agree with Mark. You want player power, you want player input, you want their input into the game. You want, there's some smart players. You need them to be putting it on the table, but it's more about exactly that, how you play and how you want to do it. And they're the ones out there, so you need their input in that. You don't want them trying to run the show, and that's what a lot of them do these days.
One guy who was very good at that you had a close working relationship with, was Rod McQueen. He was a guy who got a lot of player input into what he was doing, and yet still was able to maintain an unbelievable winning percentage. How did he mix the two?
Yeah, well, he was the first coach. He was sort of way ahead of the other coaches that were involved around that time, and the fact that he had a fantastic business background. So he ran the Brumbies like it was a business. You know, that's the first time I had ever done a SWOT analysis was when I turned up for a team meeting at the Brumbies. I didn't have much input into it. The only thing I had was one of the threats. I put my hand up and said the referee. So
and how right you were.
Yeah, I was. But, I actually heard a joke last week about the referees. There's 5 most useless things in the world.
Oh yes.
Is 3 cheers for the referee and the Pope's balls.
We feel sorry for him before.
No, I don't. Yeah, I did.
Fantastic, Nanette.
We were feeling sorry. We were feeling sorry for you that Jimmy was picking on you before. Now we've changed our mind.
That's fine. I like picking on myself, mate. So I think that's where Jimmy's got it. We've spoken a couple of times, so he knows that I don't take myself too seriously.
That's exactly right.
Is it true that before you got here today that you took your son to the doctors because he tackled the coffee table?
Yeah, he did tackle it and he ended up with a cut lip, so that's why I was running 5 or 10 minutes late. I actually wasn't invited initially. There was going to be a boxing seat up here, but they couldn't last the length.
Very good.
They had to leave the lunch after 30 seconds. So
Ladies and gentlemen, Owen Finegan is in town all week, so please make sure you see him.